Are we ready?
We're ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the July 18th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Vitale.
He is excused.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
Ranky.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Stefanski. Okay, moving on to Section D on the agenda, we have 3 public hearings this evening, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Resolution to approve a substantial amendment to the 2020-2024 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, the first hearing here is to reallocate about just shy of $11,000 from a downtown pedestrian improvement project to another pedestrian improvement project on 92nd and Lincoln. That project, that shift of money would fund the installation of an adaptive or an accessible pedestrian signal, which allows audible sound and, I guess, visible and audible sounds for pedestrians crossing the street. So primarily used for pedestrians with low vision or no vision issues to cross, in this case, 92nd and Lincoln. The daily traffic counts at that intersection are fairly decent, about 8,000 per day on 92nd Street, the north-south street, and then east to west, about 14,000 cars per day through that intersection, east to west. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those right now. But what the purpose of the shift here isn't that downtown pedestrian improvement project. That project will still be implemented in the spring of next year. We just estimate that it's going to be the amount of funding that we have in that fund is enough to cover what we want to do in the downtown area. So we want to take the additional monies, shift it over to 92nd and Lincoln to solve another pedestrian issue in that location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions from the council? Alderperson Grisham.
Steve, how was this intersection selected above others?
Our engineering department came to us with an issue. Being in proximity to the hospital, and with homes, commercial uses in that location, there was already complaints that the engineering was fielding with people with sight issues that are having a hard time crossing that intersection. So that's how it came to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on public hearing number 1? Okay, we will close public hearing number 1. We move on to item 2. I'll ask the clerk to read out that public hearing.
Conditional use permit for Caribou Coffee, a proposed restaurant with accessory drive-through service at 10200 West National.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Mayor. Caribou is a national chain with over 700 locations. They have a location here in West Allis. It's within the Festival of Foods grocery store on 111th and Greenfield Avenue. They're looking to build a freestanding store, a smaller 600 square foot kiosk of sorts with a drive-through on 102nd and National. And this is the former Baker Square location. That the building within this blue boundary here, that is the former place where you go have a slice of pie, cup of coffee. That the building has been unoccupied for the past few years, and will be demolished to make way for the new coffee shop with drive-through. Property zone C3 commercial, which allows coffee drive-through services as a conditional use. And the drive-through facility will be behind the building. So National Avenue being on the lower part of the screen here, 102nd to the east and right side. And then the Caribou Coffee is about 600 square feet in this location. It'd be a small patio out front, bike racks, landscaping, and then their point of sale where you order on the far east, and then you pick up at the window, and then either you could park and sit down or just drive away. But the parking will all be on the west side of the site. There will be adequate stacking for the drive-through lane area within this queue here. And then there will also be cross access to the north across this site. There's another developer looking at building a eye care clinic just to the north. That was the old Baker Square production facility, and that would be added on to make way for an ophthalmologist eye care clinic, modernize the building and that site as well. But that's a separate project. Our focus here is on the drive-through for the coffee. Just the floor plan and then the exterior look of the building. They have the different colored metal accents, the stone base, signage, and hardy plank siding, which is a cementitious type of lap siding in this case. And then the floor plan is primarily just for employees producing the coffee and then getting it out the drive-through window to customers that are pulling up. So Planning Commission has recommended approval of the conditional use and site plan, architectural plan on June 28th. The developer has complied with the various stormwater, site planning, landscaping, traffic management conditions. There has been one objection to date, and that's from an adjacent property owner immediately to the west. So there's other competition in the area where a Big B Coffee is locating in this gold area to the west with a similar type of product, use. And yes, they are close together, but it's capitalism. So I mean, we're moving on. I mean, so thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions on public hearing number 2 from the council?
Mayor Devine?
Alderperson Grisham.
Steve, question for you. That proximity is very close to the 102nd street light, I believe. Is there going to be entrance on that 102nd National side when you're going east? I don't think there's a break in that, correct? They'd have to turn on 102nd in order to enter?
Correct. Further, the only way that you can come off of 102nd Street to access this site would be via the existing driveway, which is between the car dealership. There's a car dealership, I think, and International Autos, and then the back side of Baker Square production.
Okay.
It's an existing, it looks like an alley that you can access Target, you can get to
Right.
to this site that way, but no new driveways on 102nd Street. Everything, all the driveways in this case are existing, and that's pretty much just off of National Avenue, and then the existing access off of 102nd,
Okay, and if-
further north.
If I'm correct, just preceding that street, there's a right turn only to 102nd, correct? Is there? Or
No, I think,
I thought it was a right turn only because you've got the ramp coming off the freeway.
No, that's up from that.
That's up one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was just my question, the safety of the entrance.
very good,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
Steve, you referenced Big B, and I remember we approved that some time ago, and I haven't seen any work started on that. Do we know what's going on with that?
They're moving along, they're working through the building permit, and that will be breaking ground soon. They ran into some delays. They actually wanted to have the building up by now. They ran into some delays late last year, earlier this year, but that is still going forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so this is not a restaurant. This is carry-out only, correct?
This is, drive up.
Drive up or
And-
walk up?
I don't believe
You
there is
said
a
bike
walk-up
racks.
window. Yeah, there are bike racks, so I mean, you could, I guess, you could pedal up to the drive-through window or an order.
And there's outside seating you showed on the plan.
Yep.
I guess my concern is, I'm just thinking, I see a lot of communities are trying to dial back the drive-through experience. Maybe not dial back, but at least consider that how it contributes to the driving mentality and not the walkable community. And I understand this is in the Highway 100 corridor, National Avenue corridor. It's a little different animal than, say, Greenfield Avenue in the downtown. But I guess I'm not a fan of these drive-through only businesses. Do we know how many employees they're gonna have? 3?
They're probably looking at 3 to 4 employees. And now they look at the floor plan, there is here, this window here, also represented here in the floor plan. This is a
Or is a walk-up window?
walk-up window
Okay.
with a patio out in front and the
And-
bike racks, yeah.
And is there a public accessible restroom?
No, not in this situation.
So it's really not offering any amenities to their customers. It's, here's your coffee,
Get home before you have to go, yeah.
drink it while you're
Yeah.
driving home,
Yeah.
or you can sit outside and.
Right.
Okay, I guess I'm just not seeing the community benefit here, but like you said, it's capitalism, so.
Yeah, I mean, this is a conditional use. I mean, it is before the council. Our ordinance does not specifically prohibit drive-throughs, in the zoning district.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to consider if council wants to take and discuss that.
Well, I'm thinking about the context here.
Yeah.
You're right, it is right off the freeway.
Yeah.
It is kind of it's not a very walkable area right now. I mean, there's a sidewalk there, but there's not a lot of people walking.
Right.
But this isn't gonna help, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Any other questions from the Common Council? Alderperson Ranky.
Okay, thank you. Basically, it's a very small building, and on the synopsis, it did mention intended restaurant. Do they intend to have any food or just serve coffee?
Primarily coffee. That's their wheelhouse, and they may have some sandwiches and so on. But it's primarily just the coffee drinks. They may have breakfast sandwiches and the sort, which would be very comparable to what Big B was offering. They have different
This
small
is the first
small
one in our
items.
community, is that not correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in other communities then?
Yeah,
Caribou?
they have other locations, primarily in festival food stores. I think in Hartford and
Oh,
then
inside the store.
South 27th Street in Milwaukee,
I
and then
see.
111th in Greenfield.
Okay,
They're getting back. They had prior, maybe 10 years ago, there were a number of, I think in Wauwatosa, they had a freestanding store on Highway 100 in Blue Mound. That's all sort of changed. It's going more to the drive-through right now. That seems to be the demand to grab a sort of a
looks like
fast
a very
casual, get a drink.
small building, though.
Very small. It's 600 square feet.
That's
Yeah.
all?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So it's literally, it's catering to the pass-by traffic within the area, people that work in the area, or perhaps live or passing through the area.
Okay.
They can stop in, hit the
did they
drive-through
purchase the
and move on.
property?
Yes, yeah.
They purchased the property, I see. I guess I'm a little disappointed that there isn't a restaurant connected to it, but that's neither here nor there. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman
Just want to
Turner.
ask one question. I can't really see very well, but is, knowing these places, usually you have a long line of cars all at one time, and going up against, is that going to be a problem? Because I know that if they do it correctly, they can do it. They're going to have like 10 cars waiting, but they might cause problems going into the street, especially National Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, there is quite a bit of queuing here, before you get out to National Avenue. And in looking at, I guess, some of the other, when we were evaluating the Big B Coffee, and going to those locations that they have, I think it's further south in like Hales Corners or Franklin area, it was very, you have your peak moments in the morning, people are going to work, but even then, it wasn't like there was a line of cars going out into, the street. It was pretty much well contained on site.
Any other questions from the council?
Here I go again, Mayor Devine.
Alderman Grisham?
Kind of piggybacking Alderman Turner's question. On the site plan, because I can't see it either, is there going to be a dual drive-through or just a single drive-through?
It's just a single drive-through lane with, I think, a bailout lane here if you don't want to wait.
Is there room for a double?
That would be up to the developer, I guess. If they wanted to pursue that, they would come back to us with that plan.
Okay.
But right now, it's just single point of order and then a single area to pick up.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Common Council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Weigel?
I'm gonna credit Alderperson Turner with, so what's the stacking capability on this location? Is it 4?
I'm gonna estimate. No, I mean, it's, so
Is it
here's the window where you pick up, you order and then pick up.
So it's all around that
Yeah.
snake to the north?
So you're
so there's,
wrapping around.
well, so it's like 8. It'll stack 8 cars, and they won't back up onto National Avenue. They'll back up into that parking lot to the north.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
So if it, because you know what's going to happen. First week they're open, everybody's going to want to go there to try it. So even if there were 20 cars in line, they would not be stacking, if they were in line for the drive-through, they would not be backing up onto National Avenue. They'd be backed up into that parking lot.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
I feel better about that then. Thank you.
All right, once again,
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Ranky.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Did you mention it came before Plan Commission? Did Plan Commission okay this?
Yes, yeah, the Plan Commission approved it with some conditions, but it was approved in June. So they recommended it be referred to Common Council as the next step as part of the conditional use.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, who's next? All right, then we will see if there's anybody in the audience that has questions on public hearing number 2. If you do, please approach the podium and give us your name and address just for our record. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Reed Jans. I'm an engineer at Excel Engineering who's produced these plans. Address 100 Camelot Drive, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. To address some of the concerns as far as pedestrian accessibility goes on this site, we are proposing that large patio outside the building that will basically be connected right to the public accessible sidewalk with that walk-up window right there, being able to serve those customers and kind of create an environment that's very open and friendly within your community in building this coffee shop at this location. And when people see people out enjoying their coffee on the patio, you want to come up and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation. As well as there is pedestrian access to the north as well. We're basically providing a sidewalk and connection up to that potential future development to the north as well there. So we have multiple points of pedestrian access. That was an important component of the design to this project. Additionally, as far as traffic concerns, we did have a traffic impact analysis report completed with this project by an outside firm that was submitted to city staff as well as planning and zoning. It did basically show everything is adequate with what's being proposed, as has been previously mentioned. As has been previously mentioned, we do have plenty of stacking, basically utilizing our entire lot. The way we have the drive-through right next to the building there, your cars can stack up all along that whole drive-through way, and then any additional within that parking lot. Within the site plan that we submitted, we did show 11 cars stacked up just within that drive-through area alone, not even considering the parking lot as stacking. And the amount of traffic generated was included within that report and has been documented as adequate for the site. As far as other concerns, being competitors, I did have a conversation with Caribou developers on that. They said that even though they are providing what most people would view as a similar product, they do view that they do have a different market share that they're going for within this market, and they're not concerned about Big B Coffee or any other threats in the area. They have an established business already within this community at Festival and are looking to expand their product options at this location. So they're really, really excited about this site and look forward to further expanding within this community.
All right. Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
Anybody else with comments, questions on the public hearing?
All right, I wasn't going to talk about this one, but Ed Lisinski, Ed Lisinski, 6620 West National Avenue, West Dallas, Wisconsin, 53214. Wasn't going to talk about this, but as long as the architect is here, I just want to make a comment that make sure that you are checking the IBC. I believe it's going off of memory here, 2902.3.2, which will tell you that toilet rooms cannot open directly into a room used for preparation of food for the public. So you may need to cut that toilet room off from the kitchen area as long as they are doing food. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Mayor Devine, I changed my mind and I have a question.
You have to go in the audience now. I'm sorry.
So is Caribou then going to completely remove the footprint from Festival Foods? Or are they going to have both?
They'll have both.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? All right, I'm going to close public hearing number 2. Got our money's worth on that one. I will now ask the clerk to read public hearing number 3.
Conditional use permit for automotive Vision Designs, a proposed light motor vehicle service use at 11133 West Rogers Street.
Mr. Scher?
Thank you, Mayor. We're recommending to hold action on this item tonight, but we'll conduct the public hearing. This is a location at 111th and Rogers Street, next to Manassas Trucking and just west of a Badger Truck facility. But Automotive Vision Designs is a tinting, detailing type of business. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. No interior or exterior changes are proposed, and the property is zoned light industrial. Being a car or vehicle service type of use, it does require conditional use. The lot is currently paved and will be a small portion of it would be utilized for the proposed use. They don't anticipate a lot of overflow parking needs. They work in a small number of cars throughout the day. Typically, at any one time, they could have 3 cars within the 3,000 square foot lease area, and the lease area is actually on the east side of the building, and then right outside of that is the parking area. So any cars waiting for service would be staged within that paved parking area, but the turnover is fairly routine and frequent, most work being done within a couple of hours. And that's the location within the larger building. And Planning Commission has recommended approval. The reason for holding action on this item tonight is because there are some code violations. There's an occupancy permit that was applied for back in December of last year, which still hasn't been satisfied. In speaking with the applicant earlier today, they are interested in solving those issues with building, plumbing, and electrical, and are working on a plan to get that complete so that an occupancy may be issued, or at least track towards completion. And at that time, we would bring back the item to Common Council upon completion of those occupancy requirements for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to assume there are no questions because we're holding this.
I do have one question, though.
Go ahead.
Since we're doing a public hearing, if this does get approved and they get to do this, are they going to be doing legal tinting? So they're not going to be allowed to do any illegal tinting of windows?
I didn't ask that question, but that would be advised, yeah.
I don't believe the tinting of the windows is actually illegal, but it's just driving around with tinted windows that's illegal.
So it's illegal.
Kind of like in, never mind.
It's like owning a gun, or something, how you use it.
That's right.
All right, any other questions from the council on public hearing 3? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience on public hearing number 3? Seeing none, then we will close our third public hearing and our final public hearing. Thanks, everybody. And we will move on to item E, which is citizen participation. This is when the council may receive information from members of the public. This 30-minute period, we ask that you announce your name and address when you come up to the microphone. We ask that you limit your comments to one statement of no more than 5 minutes. Council cannot take action on the topics raised. We cannot debate the topics either. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Good evening.
Sir?
Ed Lisinski, 6620 West National Avenue. I just wanted to let everybody know, last Friday, the American Cancer Society held their Relay for Life for the Greater Milwaukee chapter right here in West Allis, as we do every year. The weather didn't really cooperate as much with us this year. We had some lightning storms that came in Friday night. So we did have to cut it a little bit short, but it still was a pretty successful fundraiser. We raised just over $40,000. We're still a little bit short from last year's total. We were closer to 41,000 last year. So any donations that come in between now and the end of August still count towards this year's relay. So if any, anyone from the council here, anybody from the audience, anybody watching at home, wants to still get out there and donate, they can just do a quick Google search for Relay for Life. When you hit the Donate Now button, you can find the Relay for Life for Greater Milwaukee. You can still make donations, like I said, until the end of August, and we'd really love to see some of you out there next year. It's usually right around this same time, kind of mid-July every year, on a Friday night out at the athletic complex out by Hales. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? All right, we will close item E, and we will go to page 2, section F. Our standing committee meetings will be taking place tonight during recess. If you are here for a license or something that requires committee action, please check the top of page 2 on the agendas, or just ask one of us when we break for recess and start to go into those committee meetings. But we'll get you in the right direction. Those room numbers are listed on the top of page 2. Moving to item G, the mayor's report. Just one quick thing. I want to just thank everybody who helped put together the city's Independence Day festivities. The parade, as well as the fireworks, were held at a new location out at Nathan Hale High School at the athletic complex, which overall I heard very positive things about, but it was a lot of pivoting for staff and organizers and the school district. And I want to thank Festival Foods once again for sponsoring the fireworks. I want to thank the sponsors of the parade, and I think everything went really well. That does conclude the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
I just wanted to do a quick recap on the Cheese Wheel Classic Bike Race that was held over on the blocks on Beecher on Tuesday, June 20th. Seems like it was a long time ago. I guess I wanted to thank Mark Lutz, the owner at West Allis Cheese and Sausage, for his sponsorship. I believe it was another successful event for him. We had better weather this year. It was well attended. It also notes the neighbors seem to be getting more engaged with it, and only had really one complaint about issues with parking and access during the race. Again, that went very well. Also wanted to thank, I go to a lot of events like this, and volunteers are the backbone of these kinds of things. I mean, there's paid staff that runs the race, but the actual 90% of the legwork is done by volunteers. And I'm gonna guess all of them were from West Allis for this race. Almost all of them. I want to thank Razel Okrulica. She was a volunteer coordinator for the race again this year. And if you know Razel, she has not had her baby yet. She's due this week. So if you see her, say hi to her. So thanks.
And she still came to the Neighborhood Association's meeting last night.
Yes.
We were standing by. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine?
Alderperson Grisham?
I just want to remind the community that the West Dallas Police Department is asking for you to join them for West Dallas Night Out on Monday, July 24th from 5 to 9 p.m. It's an event that is going to be held at the West Dallas Farmers Market. There's a bike helmet giveaway, free kids activities, food trucks, raffle baskets, local vendors, craft sales, face painting, you name it. Firefighters hose challenge, pony rides. There's going to be raffle baskets as well. I know that there's a nice representation of our neighborhood associations as well. So hope to see everybody out there, and if not there, hosting your own neighborhood night out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other alderpersons' reports? Okay, we'll go to item I.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council meeting of June 6, 2023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The minutes are approved. On item J, we have no standing committee reports, so we'll go right to item K.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I believe there's a correction on the agenda this evening. If the clerk could please read that.
Item number 40 needs to go to the Economic Development Committee, not the Public Works Committee.
Is there any other items that any council member would like to have changed or read separately?
Mr. President, I would like item 22 read separately and request that it be put to committee of the whole.
Okay, that's noted. And I would move for the consent agenda to be approved as printed with the exception of that item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there any discussion? Hearing none.
Mayor Devine,
All,
on number 18, there's a typo area. Does that have to be noted as well? It mentions 16th Street.
oh, should be 116th.
It should be
Yeah,
116th.
Yeah.
Because Rosie's on top of it.
We'll make that correction. Make sure to keep that money in West Dallas. Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Lysick.
Aye.
Frankie.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And then we have,
Mayor Devine.
go ahead.
I move we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Do we want to first send officially the item 22 to the committee of the whole?
Well, I think that happens automatically, doesn't it? If an alderman requests that something be moved to the committee of the whole, it goes to the committee of the whole. Doesn't take action of the whole council to move something to the committee of the whole.
Okay.
Just a recommendation by one alder, or asking them by one alder person.
Okay. And back to the, what's that? Oh, okay.
Then I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in recess.
new street, which has been called the West Washington Avenue, Washington Street Extension. And it's come forward again because the DOT has started their I-94 project again, the east-west expansion between approximately 72nd Street to South 18th Street. As part of that project, they will be removing the half of the ramps at Hawley Road. You will not be able to enter the freeway to go eastbound at Hawley, nor will you be able to exit if you were headed westbound at Hawley anymore. So it'll only be half an interchange. As part of the mitigation for that, they proposed this new street. And on the letter, you can see where it starts at the kind of where the existing Washington east of 70th Street ends. It kind of snakes its way to the north, and then heads east and aligns with the northern entrance to the former Roosevelt's grade school. So that's the proposed alignment. We've worked with economic development and the DOT and planning on that alignment. So and DPW, and so this is kind of the alignment that's been proposed and DOT has agreed to. As part of when we started to look at this project, we noted that there's the 3 streets and the 3 alleys that are all dead end immediately south of the new proposed road. And in talking with DPW, it became very apparent that these 3 streets and alleys kind of cause a hazard or an unsafe condition for not only DPW staff, but police and fire staff as well. When you snowplow or collect garbage, you have to, drive down and then back all the way out, which is unsafe and leaves open potential for accidents. And then also, if a tree or one of the, like, say 62nd Street is blocked by a tree or, I don't want to say sinkhole, but, something catastrophic, police and fire wouldn't be able to get there because that whole road is blocked. So, in talking with DPW, we find that these streets and alleys need to be connected for safety. It's also efficient. Backing up is slow. It takes time. So we're trying to look for efficiency and better circulation and safety. The remnant parcel south of the new proposed road will afford the city an opportunity to purchase some land there for connectivity. Engineering has looked at 4 scenarios. There's going to be way more. I'm sure that we can figure out. I included them in the letter. They've been provided to planning, DPW, economic development, just as to start the conversation about how we do that connectivity between the streets and alleys. What kind of land would be left over? What would be developable? What kind of businesses could go in that development? It's kind of exciting to think about, new subdivisions. What do we want there? There's opportunities here for at least 6 new lots and 6 new single-family homes. So on one of the alternatives, so it's kind of a cool opportunity for the city to kind of forward think and decide what we want to do there. So those are also in your letter. The last thing that I wanted to cover today is that the DOT calls it the West Washington Street Extension. It's not an extension of Washington Street. Directly south of where this proposed street is, there's already Washington Street. I don't know how or why that came to be, but we're going to encourage DOT to not call it the Washington Street Extension anymore, to avoid confusion. There's a public meeting DOT is holding for this, some outreach on it. If you haven't gotten a flyer on it, you probably will. DOT was supposed to have sent them out last week, but I know some of the people in the area have gotten it and are concerned that their street's getting pushed straight through the town center, and that's not the case. It's going through the DOT's sign shop property. So we'll have to come up with a new name. So
That's what I was going to ask.
Bless you.
yeah.
So we will have a new street name in West
It
Dallas.
will be a different street name. And what that is, I'm not gonna offer. I just caution that we don't want something like Streety McStreet Face or Boaty McBoat Face or.
DPW Drive.
Road.
That would be awesome. I think.
DPW Way.
Yes.
Road.
So,
I already have a Suzette Avenue.
yeah. So I guess the intent of my letter today, my correspondence, is just to really bring you up to speed as we move forward with some of the planning for the road and some of the final designs. Those will, as approvals are needed, would come forward. But I just wanted to get everybody back on the same table and give you some information on it. So if you have any questions.
Shop is going.
It's going. DOT has made that decision that they are going, they actually have to sell the land to themselves and then acquire the right of way. Yep. I don't pretend to know why the DOT does what the DOT does, but they actually have to acquire it from themselves.
Any questions from the committee?
No, thank you for the update.
Sure.
Do we have a date in case somebody's watching and didn't get the flyer?
Next week, the 27th of July,
27th of
I
July?
believe. Just make sure, let me look at my calendar. Yeah, the 27th of July. It's here at the City Hall.
What were the hours?
You guys are asking way faster than I am.
I have 5:30 and 6.
Yeah.
I don't know which.
I have, I think it's 6 to 8.
Okay.
They have it reserved.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to place on file?
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's been placed on file. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll.
Okay, we're gonna call Public Safety Committee to order. We met yesterday, for those who are tuning in now, to go over the bulk of our agenda because it was quite lengthy. So what we're going to do this evening, if there are no objections, is we're gonna take some bulk motions. And we had items 54, 55, 62, and 65 that there was a motion to approve. Was the consensus? Do we have a motion?
Which ones were those again, please?
54,
Yes.
55, 62, and 65.
62?
Yep, 62.
62 and 65.
And what was,
62,
they were to approve?
Yes.
Correct,
65.
correct.
Okay.
Let's see, I'll go look at them.
I should have done the corresponding numbers from yesterday's agenda.
65, isn't it? This one here.
They're in the same order, but yeah.
Okay, there's Rebecca, we need clarification, because 65 on here is the non-renewal, but that means it's approved because they paid their taxes, correct?
Right.
Okay, so that's the clarification. So it would be approved because that was remedied.
Okay.
Okay.
So is it supposed to be 64 then, Howard?
It would be 62 and 65.
And 55.
So 62, 65,
Yep.
55, and 54.
Yep, 55 and 54. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Spencer.
Okay.
No, Spencer, no,
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Yep.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The second item will be a motion on those the items that we had agreed that we would hold. Those items would be item 57.
57,
I'll take it a little slower.
okay.
60,
50?
60, 60,
60.
61, 66, 67, and 68.
All holds, correct?
All
All
hold, yep.
holds.
Okay.
Motion to hold.
Is there a second? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask for discussion. I went out of order. Motion carries. Now, there are items that we're going to take separate action on that we had discussed. So if everybody wants to go to item 56.
That'd be Bautista, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, so that was for an application for bartender Class D operator application for Asia Bautista.
Motion denied.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Is there discussion on this?
Did
I
you
believe there was a point of information that maybe was not presented.
Well, the applicant wasn't truthful with us. She didn't have a driver's license and told us that she didn't drive here, and we saw her leave here in a car.
Okay,
So she lied to us.
okay, so the applicant was untruthful, which would be reason for denial. We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So there's a denial for 56. Then we're going to go to 58 is Darius Salinas. The consensus was to approve with a 3-2 vote. I believe there were a couple things that were of concern to others. So is there a motion for approval or denial?
I
You
vote
need-
for denial, move for denial,
Okay.
which would be a no.
Second.
All right, so there is a motion and a second for denial. We'll do, all in favor?
Aye.
For denial, aye.
Aye.
Okay, Alderman Turner?
No, it was.
Okay, so there's 3 ayes. And nays? No. Alderman Turner?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did have a nay on that one.
Okay, so 3-2. So 3 for approval, 2 for,
No,
no, 3 for denial,
2
2 for approval. Okay, next item would be item 59. Haley Schultz, consensus to approve was 3-2.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve. You need a minute, Alderman Ranky?
OWI pending?
I believe that one was corrected, that was an error.
Okay.
She was what?
Rebecca, do we have a note on that? I believe that Haley Schultz, there was something on her record that stated she had an OWI, or was that Asia?
Oh, that was Asia.
That was Asia,
That
but
was
that was,
Asia.
that was
Okay.
found that she didn't.
All right.
Haley.
Do you need my notes?
I'm sorry, which one are we on right now?
Haley Schultz.
Here, here's all my
59.
notes.
5-9, okay, thank you.
Here.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion?
Got it. Yes, sir, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, do I need to repeat? I've got a motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it was unanimous to approve. All right, item 63, Michael Krimke Boy, consensus was to deny 4-1. Is there a motion?
Motion to deny.
Is there a-
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So unanimous on denial. 64, Brittany Fuchs. There was a consensus, I think. I don't know if I was the only opposing to hold. Due to the circumstances, I'd like to implore the committee to kind of reconsider this. One of the things that would stand out to me is that Ms. Fuchs really didn't have a record prior to this unfortunate situation. And reminding the committee what our role is also to know that any of these applicants, record or not, can bartend. The only thing that offering them a license through our committee is giving them is the opportunity to take responsibility of behind the bar themselves. So with that being said, I just want to remind everybody of our role in that, and that when we're looking, that we're taking the advisement of our understanding that under statute 125, pending cases cannot be taken into consideration. So holding this item, even if it was an initial plea for this woman, isn't going to do any justice for us to really make a decision. And I don't think it's fair to the applicant or asking her to come and open up what, after already putting her heart on the line, saying what happened, she was assaulted. I can only guess what's happening because she didn't reveal the information, but being she didn't have a record, her reasoning behind wanting to bartend in the first place was actually maybe healing for her. And it may not, I hope it makes sense to others how I interpreted it. But is there discussion? I'd like to hear from anyone on the committee.
I agree with you, different reasons. One being that it was her first appearance, her first time. Unlike some other people we had, she was being honest and very forthright about what was happening. So that pretty much got me to approval.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve.
okay, is there a
Second.
second? Okay, so there's a motion
we
and a
have a
second?
question?
And, yes,
Question. Okay.
discussion.
Discussion, okay. On the record, it mentioned possession of controlled substance. Could somebody refresh my memory on that one?
I don't believe that is, are you looking at Brittany? May I see it?
Brittany Hoops.
Okay.
I thought there was just.
I don't have that one.
Oh, no.
Attorney Serwin? Perfect timing.
Great.
Alderwoman Ranky, we're discussing Brittany Fuchs, and there's been a motion to approve and a second. Alderwoman Ranky has a question regarding that there was a possession on her record. I don't have my sheet.
Indicates possession of controlled substance.
I believe that's a pending matter as well. I think that is accompanying.
Was that under the pending or was the officer under the pending?
There's a,
Resisting an officer.
the pending matter has an OWI, resisting, and possession.
So that
Oh, yeah,
hasn't
that
been
is all under the pending. I
decided
found it.
as yet.
It's all pending, and that's something that, based on the nature of the offenses, you couldn't consider at this point unless or until there's a conviction.
Right.
So in the future, if approved today, in the future, you could call her back in for a suspension or revocation, or there's a solid argument right now that you're already aware of generally what that would be. So it can be held to see what she's gonna do with it, or you can approve today or deny today. But I wouldn't ever recommend to hold for more than just one cycle.
I see. Thank you.
And for clarification going forward, Attorney Serwin, when we have these instances and there is a request for a hold, the process of the court system is not, I mean, we see convictions that when we're looking at, okay, this was the charge date, and it's a whole year later. So we as a committee have a responsibility to be expeditious in our decision-making too. So I just want to remind the committee of that.
I would agree with that. We try to process things as quickly as possible, but there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot. Okay,
Madam Chair.
yes.
And her provisional license expires on August 26th, so you wouldn't be able to hold it past the
Right.
next council meeting.
Okay. So is there any further discussion? Okay, there's been a motion for approval and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and there are no noes. That's unanimous, so that is approved. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good evening. We'll call the council back to order, and I will ask clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Vitale.
Excused.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Haas. Here. Keen. Here. Lysick.
Here.
Reinke.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum, and we will begin with the Administration Committee. I will ask the clerk to read out that report.
The Administration Committee recommended adoption of items 37 and 38 and approval of item 39.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the committee report.
Thank you, Alderman Haas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask clerk for a roll call.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Aye.
Turner. Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then we will go to the Public Works Committee.
The Public Works Committee recommended placing on file item 41.
I move in accordance with the committee report, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman Rote. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. We will now proceed to the Economic Development Committee.
Economic Development Committee recommended referral to the Plan Commission for item number 40, adoption of item 43, grant with amended premises description number 44, hold item 45, grant 46, 47, 48, and 50, grant with amended hours, item 49, adoption of item 51, approval of item 52, and hold item 53 and number 42 be read out separately.
Thank you.
I move for adoption of the committee report on those items.
Thank you, Alderman Lysick. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
Aye.
Turner. Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And then we have item 42. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine, item 2 is consideration of a resolution creating tax incremental District 19, approving the project plan and establishing its boundaries, and was acted on favorably by all members of the committee present. I move for adoption of that item.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
No.
Turner.
Aye.
Vitale. Excuse me. Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
No.
7 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries. And we'll go to the Public Safety Committee. And we'll ask the clerk to read out that report.
The Public Safety Committee recommended granting of items 54, 55, 59, 62, 64, 65, holding items 57, 60, 61, 66, 67, and 68, denial of items 56 and 63, and then there was a split vote on 58. Read that separately.
Okay, Alderperson Grisham. Sorry, I was just trying to keep up on my notes. Thank you. Any discussion?
Offer clarification for item 58. There was a 3-2 for denial for Darius Salinas. I want to give a little bit of background.
Well, first, can we vote on the balance and then?
Oh, yes, we can.
Take that
I'm
out
sorry.
separately? Yeah.
I
So-
know I always do this.
It's all good. So if just to make sure, I've got 56 was a denial, and 63 was a denial, and 58 was a split vote. And 68. Was 68 okay? 58. Okay, thank you. So on the balance, is there any discussion? And hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. No. Now what's next? 58? Okay. Now we're acting on 58. Alderperson Grisham.
I'm back on, sorry about that.
No worries.
Darius Salinas is an applicant for bartender's license, and however, well, he has a bit of a background that brought him to committee, in fact, 2 OWIs. What I found to be credible from this young man is that he owned his mistakes. He, under the state statute 125, showed competent rehabilitation, and he plans on using this bartender's license to work at Phoenix 360, which is an event venue, not necessarily at bars and whatnot. He wants to take the opportunity to use this as a stepping stone into a potential career as a wedding coordinator and other things. So my take on his explanation as to what his record reflected showed growth, and I was a firm believer in offering second chances, and I think he deserved it. So that's why my vote is to approve.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine,
Alderperson Keen?
could what were the dates of the 2 OWIs? Does anyone have that?
I do. And if I'm gonna say it for the record, there was, his first OWI was in 2020, and his second was in 2021. He does have a valid driver's license, which the reason that we looked at this is some of the items could be looked at as habitual law offenses. But we're talking things that went back to 2018, like instruction permit violation, operating without a driver's license. You know, things that are not related to.
So the 2 alcohol-related are 2020 and 2021?
Correct. Otherwise, it's operating after suspension, operating, after revocation. He does have an intoxilizer also on his vehicle. And the only thing that showed up is he has not paid court fees of $150, but he did set up a payment plan for $150 per month. So he is also going to make good on that.
Thank you, Alderperson Grisham. Is there any other discussions or questions?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
Do we know anything about the policies at this place of employment as far as employees drinking while they're working?
If I may answer that, he said there would be no drinking. And because it's small, a small event venue, it's not something that a provisional or he would have supervision. They're small parties, and it's usually one person overseeing the operation.
But he could take that license and technically go work
We
anywhere.
discussed that too. So technically, we give him this permission, he could go anywhere. But he was pretty solid that this was going to be his stepping stone. He has a full-time job. He just wants to explore the opportunity to possibly get into wedding planning.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So this is, I vote is to approve the license?
The motion was to
To deny.
deny. So an aye is to deny.
Okay.
And
Mr. Mayor, then I do have a question.
go ahead.
Not on that committee anymore, but when I was on that committee, it seemed that the state of Wisconsin had kind of tied our hands in that if the applicant can demonstrate rehabilitation, that we cannot hold his previous offenses against him. I do see the assistant city attorney. Does Nick have something to share on this?
Mr. Serwin?
Thank you. It's a combination of Chapter 125, which is the liquor licensing, and Chapter 111.335, which is the basically discrimination in hiring. And so these are shall issue license if individuals meet the qualifications, unlike Class A or Class B, which are may issue license, discretionary. There is room for denial if there is if there are law offenses that substantially, the wording is substantially relate to the license activity, but they have the opportunity to show competent evidence of rehabilitation, which is what you're talking about. Some of those discussions revolve around what remedial efforts the person has made, if they've obtained a license back post the OWI, because during the penalties section of OWIs, for the most part, you can't have a license, so the penalty would have resolved. So yes, these are shall issue license. Generally, your hands are tied if they meet the qualifications. The gray area or the discretionary area is whether or not they meet the qualifications as a habitual law offender with offenses that substantially relate to the license activity.
And if I understand correctly, he currently has a driver's license,
He's valid.
but he's got a breathalyzer thing he's got to blow into.
Ignition interlock
And
device.
That's what it is. So he has made the effort to, he didn't just say, I'm walking away from, but if he wanted, he has an option to not have a driver's license. So he did make that effort. And one of the things that bothered me when I was on the committee is the efforts to rehabilitate. It seems to me it's mostly just court-ordered stuff that they're ordered to do anyways. But in this case, he chose to take the effort to get the driver's license and deal with having the interlock device on his car. And he's driving with a valid license today.
He has a valid license now from the record that we had. Generally, ignition interlock would be required on most second offenses, so that would likely be a penalty imposed along with the OWI.
But he could have just given up his license, right?
The way it works, I don't know how in the weeds you want to get on this one, but the way it works with OWIs is generally, once you reinstate, if you have ignition interlock requirement, you have to have it in any car you own or any car you operate. And so it's like a restriction on your license. If I get pulled over, I need to have glasses on. If he gets pulled over, he
But
needs
you
to
can
have,
walk a car, you can walk around with
you can walk,
glasses.
yeah, he could, what he could do is never have an ignition interlock installed, get a license, and make it through this year or year and a half or whatever it's going to be that he has to have it, but he'll never have to install it because he doesn't have a car.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Mayor Devine?
Alderperson Grisham?
And if I may add, Mr. Salinas did say that beyond what was court-ordered, he chose to remain in counseling. It had helped him. He stopped because he couldn't afford out-of-pocket costs, but he did go through the AODA and the counseling and everything that I guess the court order would mandate, but he said that he kind of had a reckoning. So he could have been pulling a fast one, but I believed him, at least to give him the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
No.
This is to deny.
Oh, wait, this is to,
The motion
I'm
is to
sorry.
deny.
Aye. Yep, thank you, aye.
Turner.
No.
Weigel.
No.
Grisham.
No.
Haas.
No.
Keen.
No.
Lysick.
No.
Reinke.
No,
Rote.
Aye.
7 approved and 2 to deny. So 7 to 2, it's approved.
It's like we're voting on a TIF.
Do we need a motion to approve now?
Yes.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion.
If I may.
And a second. If there is no other discussion, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Stefanski.
No.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Lysick.
Aye.
Reinke.
aye.
Rote.
No.
7 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, August 1st at 7 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.